Yeah, so obviously we have a connection, Wilson, through Katie, at Lifespan. So I guess maybe sort of back up. So I teach at from the state universities at Brockport. It's sort of between Buffalo and Rochester, New York, if you know your New York geography much. But I've been there about 20 years. And I've been working with Lifespan probably about that whole time as well. I've done a lot of program evaluation for not just for Katie, but also for their elder abuse prevention program. So again, a lot of my research kind of focuses, obviously on aging and so forth. I've done a number of federal grants with them, as well as through the Bureau of Health Professions as well. The University of Rochester Medical Center had a geriatric education center for a number of years. That's where I was before I came to Brockport and finished up my doctorate there. And so aging is sort of my expertise, and so is program evaluation. So I do a lot of different kinds of, assisting, different practitioners, and primarily in social work. That's my background as well. I teach fun things like research methods, and I also teach a class at the University of Buffalo in their doctoral social work program as well. So I like doing this kind of stuff, and it was just nice that Katie kind of reached out. We just finished up an evaluation with one of their the grant that we had for trying to teach caregivers to use virtual reality programming as a way to socialize and engage with the care recipients as well, and that went over pretty well. So that's just a little bit about me. And I Wilson, as you know, I went through the proposal yesterday. I'm like, oh, I'll just ask a couple questions. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to the end and I'm like, he's going to be really annoyed. I think I maybe asked too many questions about the analysis plan. So hopefully
that was perfect.
That was okay. I'm just sort of like a fresh pair of eyes, I'm like, okay, so, how is this all going to kind of come together? So hopefully those questions weren't, too annoying, but just trying to get a sense of, kind of where you want to go with the evaluation. And so, I think that was really helpful. I wasn't expecting you to answer all those questions, but that was helpful too, that you did.
Thank you so much. Is exactly what I wanted. It also shows that you care.
Mm-hmm.
I, for 2 years, have really engaged a couple of qualitative researchers, and they're awesome, but they're just, quote, too busy to take on the role. That to me doesn't run well. I mean, that to me just means you don't care, right? We all are busy. Who's not busy? Raise your hand.
Right.
So your questions really embarrassed me a little bit because I had to write the last qualitative research section at the last minute, and I knew it wasn't sufficient. My wife and I, if we ever come close to like separation, it was over a fight about what is qualitative research. And with her being in the right space, she does qualitative research. She trained at Hopkins. But she did not want to work with me. I'm not sure what that means.
That's okay. So, as an aside, since you opened that door, so my wife is actually our department chair. So I joke that the boss at home is also the boss at work, and we do collaborate, on some research projects, but it can get tense, right? Because we have kind of different perspectives on things, and so I totally understand. And sometimes it's best if there's a little bit of separation between between the work that you do. So I totally get it.
Well, thanks for understanding that. So what I want to do at this time, if it's okay, is you're kind of the VIP. Cindy's not only my right-hand woman, but she does a lot of professional work on presentation of data for various organizations, whether that be the Canadian government or various NGOs. So it's very pertinent to her, and she's also very logical and a real person, which is great. In terms of process, it's going to be rather quick as usual in my life. At the last 2 days, I will lend a consultant to take us through just all the stuff I'm going to drop, like someone who just is a professional. I'll use the same firm. I've done it twice with them. Sometimes I think, why do I use the same firm that never gets me this award? But I think you can see through the content, it's not because of them. It's
so you go with, you kind of contract this out, the writing of the grant in terms of the revisions? Is that
No,
what you're
I did
saying,
not.
or-
No, I
Oh,
read
okay.
the whole thing. But in terms of submission to the federal government, it's
Oh,
very
they do. Okay,
complicated.
gotcha.
They do it. They don't do it for me even. I pay them essentially $250 to sit with me to submit the portions.
To
that
make
need
sure
to be-
everything is right.
Yeah, because like you never.
Yep.
Well, I guess you do know, Jason. Like you thought a form was important and it was not, and you spent all this time on it. You're supposed to just write one sentence response. Then you don't think it's important, like company resources, because no one told me. And that is like the main thing about the grant,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You spend all your time on the research and the commercial portions of the grant. You haven't seen the commercial portions of the grant. This is a SBI process, which means that it's partially funded by the Small Business Association and partially funded by the National Institutes of Aging. I think you're right on, Jason. Anything even to do with disparities, health inequities. I was even talking with my partner, Arif, in Indonesia. He's a CTO of the company. He basically built what you see with me. I think I have to scrub pronouns actually out from the profile. I think, I don't know. I mean, sometimes these things are kind of, I don't know, I'm not really part of the transgender space. So sometimes from someone who's very like, patriarchal, heterosexual, trying not to be both those things, but I guess I am. You include those things thinking you're like all inclusive and cool and whatever, but they might not actually serve a purpose. I've actually never seen pronouns on a platform for older individuals, but I also think that's part of the problem. Like, who cares? They're just old people. They have no concept of gender. They're not having sex, that kind of whatever. So I would be open, at least from both of you, about how we scrub it. But generally, it's not too hard to scrub. The issue of older individuals pervades all types of people. So I will then those people at the last moment. I am by that statement open to any changes, but I will submit to this group the next version because the old version has not been changed. The key changes between this and old version is for you, Jason. You are doing the qualitative research. Second is I'm going to bring on insurance actuary to do the economic analysis or about savings and costs. That could be a risk, but I don't know else to do it. Everyone else is quote too busy. And I know this guy. I mean, I don't know if insurance actuary says that your app saves lots of money and is able to explain that well. I imagine that would be a good thing. And then the third big change, and then I'm going to leave it to you after a little bit of orientation on this app, is that when I wrote the app, the BIR's criteria protocol was not in the app, and now it is. And that was one of the criticisms, like, well, I don't understand. It's just a protocol. Now I'm really just going to show them how we've already embedded it in. It hasn't incorporated all the layers. BIR's criteria is American Geriatric Society, all are just guidelines, really. And they have 3 categories. One category is these drugs just need to be off. No one takes these. You'd be poisoning someone if you take them. Second category is usually they're bad, but you do need to look at diagnoses a little bit. Like maybe it's possible someone with an older adult has schizophrenia. Pretty doubtful, but if they did, maybe they need to be on an anti-schizophrenia drug. And the third category is just drug interactions. I've really just focused on category 1 with maybe some assumptions in category 2. What I mean by that on 2 is that we're not trying to be doctors, right? So it's very hard, and the medical records are very poor in terms of what is someone's real diagnosis. On the other hand, if someone's in a dementia ward, I'm going to say they have dementia, and then I'll use that criteria 2. Criteria 3, I really want. Criteria 3 is easy, but it's criteria 3 is easy. Oh, there's 4. Sorry, there's 4 and 5, and I really want to touch 4. So I think 3 we do because it's just interactions of drugs, but they're really kind of stupid usually because criteria 1 will always usually exclude criteria 3 because you should be on around the clock. Opiates, for example, for category 1, and then you should be in category 1. So on category 3, you're not going to have opiates and benzodiazepines together as a criteria to drop one of them. And then 4 is just effectiveness of care. I really want effectiveness of care, but we're not really there. And I don't think it's good to go there because you then take on doctors and stuff like that. So that's now embedded. The other key piece is lifespan. Lifespan is now saying we want to be, as far as I can hear, we want to push this app to the community. I heard them say, and this is just me being very optimistic, is like, and first I just love Katie, right? And I love everyone I meet there, is that we can produce, if this were released, essentially a CRM tool for lifespan, because a lot of their work is about like how many volunteers touch the families, how are the families doing, the demographics, and very hard data for them to get naturally. I do think that's true. So I'm creating for leadership. I'm meeting them next week, a CRM dashboard of that you could see like number of people in care, total number of hours spent, any emergency and outcome. What else? Whatever their wish list is to put on the CRM that the app could take away, and that's huge. So now, because that was one of the critiques as well, that and you mentioned it, Jason, how about the number of study subjects? What is their recruitment strategy, right? A lot of it becomes a lot easier if Lifespan just says, okay, we're gonna just explode this thing down the line, and then maybe, we do have to train some of but I think we should see through the app back end who is, quote, trained naturally, and then assume qualitative research is not about sampling or anything. It's really about understanding the use, right, of, and then, I'm sorry, and you go into your detail, and then that's pretty much it. And I'm going to just let you field questions right now about anything about the app. I'm going to put it up here just so you see. So you're just going to see if I can figure out how to do it again. Okay, yeah, here it is. And then my family's going to be walking around at some point.
That's okay.
Yeah, and probably like an animal that, and I don't even have a pet.